Hey everybody, how you doing? Welcome to Jimmy V Live. This is episode 7, and this is going to be one of the most intense, I should say, podcasts because we're really going to hit the industry. We're going to definitely focus on the industry of the taverns in Las Vegas and what's going on. And one thing I want to say to you guys is there's been a couple of questions, I should say a couple, maybe a dozen questions on what exactly is contact tracing. Let me bring in my partner in crime here, the man of steel himself, Mark Steele. How you doing, Mark?
Pretty amazing, Jimmy. How's it going today? Okay.
What's going on?
Not a lot. You got me like all wound up already.
Everything is great. Everything is great.
Very intense podcast today. So.
Oh, yeah, I'm happy. When these come on, I'm happy because I want to thank all the viewers because you guys is what makes it happen. We're happy about it. We're happy what's going on. And this is something that I've been looking forward to, this subject. And we got excellent guests today. I mean, I'm going to introduce them soon. But I just want to go over a couple things with you guys. First of all, I want to let you know this is not about a podcast about whether you love or hate Governor Sisolak. It's not about that. This is about how the pandemic and what's going on now, post, past, present, what everybody has gone through or what you're going through. Right now, we are in a mandate. Regardless if you love them or hate them, we're in a mandate, and we got to follow the mandate. Okay, we have to follow it. I know I say it every week, but we must follow the mandate to the T so we can get back to normal. But I want to actually let you guys be aware of what exactly the contract tracing is, because there's a lot of people that want to know. Contract tracing, I'm going to read it exactly from the CDC. Contract tracing is used by health departments to prevent the spread of infectious disease. In general, contract tracing involves identifying people who have an infectious disease, that would be considered cases, and their contacts would be people who may have been exposed, and working with them to interrupt the disease transmission. So for COVID-19, this would include disease transmission. Okay. And they would ask the cases to isolate and contacts to the quarantine at the home voluntarily. Okay. So the contract tracing for COVID-19 typically involves interviewing. Okay, everyone who's in the household at a time where they may have think that they became infectious, notifying the contacts of their potential exposure, referring contacts for testing, monitoring contacts for signs and symptoms of COVID-19, connecting the contacts together with services they might need during self-quarantine. That is what contract tracing is. Okay, and with that said, the health department has contract tracers. There's private companies that have contact tracers. Okay, one thing I want you guys to know, there's also new things coming out or apps that are contract tracing. Okay, and they go by a certain, I'm not exactly quite sure how they map you. I think it's something to do with the test you've taken, but that would go into a lot of areas of employee privacy. And a lot of the companies have taken that into consideration. So you get into the consumer information about this. And if you guys notice, there's a lot of contract tracing. You'd say that 10 times fast, right? Contact tracing issues, where we first had issues with the disinfectants. Everybody was selling the miracle cure that's going to kill this. There's a 62-page document that went out that actually states that the types of disinfectants that you could use that will kill this. Also, so don't go sit there by the kill-all method. The other thing is there's a lot of contract tracing courses. And Mark, he has a school and he has accredited courses, okay? I am accredited what I do in the training, which is considered registered environmental health specialist, registered sanitarian. I'm accredited. Now, not saying that the non-accredited courses are bad because it's great information, but there's a lot of them out there that are non-accredited that refer to hospitals and don't refer to the actual food and beverage industry as far as restaurants. So just make sure you guys look at that. You can take the courses. It's great information either way, but I would consider using something like an accredited person or accredited type of training, so that way you will get the definite training that is associated with what we're going through right now. So later on, if you guys want to go through the contract tracing and issues like that, definitely go for it. There's one other thing before I get to the guests, that the taverns, okay? Did you guys get hit and did you guys get singled out? You know what? It seems that way. Okay, it seems that way. And I can tell you that I've got a lot of clients on the strip. I've got a lot of clients with the taverns, and everybody's following the positive method. Now, what I want you to know is that it's Nevada OSHA. It is also business license who's taking the lead on this, and the Southern Nevada Health District is doing the contract tracing. Okay, so now they're also starting to pick up on the others because it's considered a illness, it's considered a pandemic, so they have to take in consideration a lot of things. So it's all coming together. But OSHA has visited more than 26,000 business establishments across the state, and to determine the compliance with the state mandate that I mentioned before. Okay, the compliance rate is 94%. Okay, so that's very good in both Southern and Northern Nevada. That was based on 358 observations last week, July 16th and 17th. Now, of the 122 convenience stores observed, 91% were compliant, okay? 93%, which were general retail stores, were compliant. And here's a good one. 98% of restaurants were compliant, okay? And let me get back to that in a minute. 96% were the clothing stores, and 100% of the grocery stores are compliant, which was an issue before. Now, with that 98%, it just may take one or maybe two facilities not to do the right thing. And guess what? That's why we're back to phase one. We have to do the mandate correctly. Two other things to mention. There was a local pub. I'm not going to name names. You guys can look it up yourselves. That was in our vicinity. Okay, and they received almost $5,000 in violations from the Nevada OSHA. And there was an auto parts store that was in upstate Nevada here that they almost received $9,000 in violations. Now, with that said, okay, there was no mention of taverns. There was no mention of the bars. There was no mention of there was some mention of some casinos, but not with the bars. Now, I just want you to know that within the strip casinos there's a lot of pools, and there's a lot of issues with pools. There's a lot of rumors of pools. There's people out there, and I know some of my clients have 6-foot noodles that they've given people. But with that all said, we have to comply. Now, we will be reevaluated Friday, okay, which is the 24th. So that's what was mentioned back, okay, in 7/10 when the governor released, we're back to phase one, and then he clarified it on 7/11 that 7/24 we're going to be reevaluated. And I just want to let you guys know those facts because I'm all about the regulations and facts, which leads me to our guest, because I know they do the right thing, and they've been doing the right thing, and they've gone above and beyond. And before I introduce them, I want the Mark. You have anything to add to that, pal? Because I know you're accredited, you do your things, and it's your school's the utmost, professional. How can I say, So what do you think, Mark, about all that statistical stuff?
That's a lot of crazy information, Jimmy, and I appreciate you sharing that with us and with all the viewers right now, because, a lot of the times we can read it and we can look on a website and we can hear the governor, and we don't know what the heck to take from all of it. So it's great that you were able to kind of put it all into a little synopsis for about 6 or 7 minutes. So thank you very much. I actually do have a question, though. Out of those, what were the major violations for the people who were not in compliance? Was it masks? Was it social distancing? What were the major? Did it say what they weren't following?
It really didn't relate to that in the article or within their website, but I suspect it was what it was similar. Okay. Similar. It was masks and distancing, just like you mentioned, but they didn't particularly state what the fact was. They didn't comply.
Understood.
So with that said, I want to bring these two people in. They're fantastic people. Worked with them a very long time. We have Kenna, VP over at Fine Entertainment, and we have Jaime Mapes, the marketing director over there. How you guys doing today?
Doing well, thank you.
Doing well, thank you for having us on.
Of course. We go way back, Kenna, huh?
Yeah, we worked together for many years.
That's great.
These are interesting times, but I'm sure we've said that before, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And you go back with Mark, too. We've all worked together. So everybody who's viewing out there, we've all worked together for a long time. As everybody knows within the industry, we're like a community. We all work together. We've all worked together somewhere in the past. We'll work together in the future. The main thing is, like Kenna said, she said it to me. She said it before. Again, mandate, we got to comply, and that's the way it is, whether how you like it or not. I think that the taverns got singled out. I'm not going to lie. I think it was a single out because I don't see no difference between the taverns on the, whether it's on the strip or what's that. We see on social media what social media does, when people do the wrong thing, and that's what affected us. Hopefully on the 24th, we'll all be back to normal again. Let's see. You know, I'm hoping for that.
Yeah, we all are.
Yes, for sure. I know that the taverns are working really hard to do the right thing so that we're not giving anybody any reason to make a different decision on the 24th. But at the end of the day, obviously, we're just as concerned as everybody else for everyone's safety. So we're just waiting it out like everyone else to hope for a good outcome for, overall for the entire city. So we're just waiting like everybody else.
Exactly. And I know that you guys over there have gone upon everything. The information I provided you, the information that you've received, you take it into consideration. You create your own program throughout the throughout your corporation, and it's really second to none. You guys have always been on the top doing it. I mean, you're doing your social distancing. You even gone above and beyond with the temperature checks. I mean, share a little bit of that, what you guys have done.
Jamie, you could probably speak a lot to that.
Yeah, obviously we're following all the guidelines that have been provided to us. But of course, we put a little Parkway flair into everything that we do. So we have signage throughout the venue immediately from entering through the main entrance to all the entrances that we have from the patio into the restrooms. Everything is clearly marked, for social distancing. In addition, we have what we call our house rules, and these are we encourage people to do, air high fives, foot high fives, waves, but obviously refrain from, giving hugs and contacting other guests that are in the venue. We also, mandate obviously the 6 feet social distancing. The tables are already pre-marked and spread apart. Just make it easy for our guests. Make them feel comfortable when they're coming to Parkway. I think that's probably the most important thing is obviously following the guidelines, but making sure that our staff as well as our guests feel like this is a safe, comfortable environment that they can enjoy themselves and, kind of relax and maybe forget about all the craziness that's going on for an hour or so.
But from the very beginning, we've offered free masks for people who come in that maybe it's not something that they do outside of here, but we try to encourage it from the very beginning. Obviously, now it is the mandate, so there still is some resistance, obviously, I'm sure people are aware of. So from the moment they walk in the door, we definitely hand them out. And we have people who walk around to kind of police the fact that even when you get up to use the restroom, anytime you're not seated, you need to be wearing masks. And we don't allow table hopping, which sounds like a silly thing, but in a bar environment, people are very accustomed to being able to get up and go hang out with their friends. Maybe hit on a girl that they think might be attractive across the room. I mean, that's kind of why people go to bars in the first place, especially in the evening. So we have people who walk around and police that situation. Maybe they can wave over to the person, shoot them a visual with their phone, and we try to provide other options and, do heads up with their own phones versus having actual meetings. But we try to make it fun and still try to allow them to have that environment without actually touching each other and moving from table to table. So we try to allow the bar environment to occur without people violating the social distancing rules. And that's, I think, been the biggest challenge for people. You alluded to some of the violations earlier, Mark. You asked if you knew what they were. The biggest one we've seen when we've talked to and asked that exact question to business licensing is, because they come by all the time, I would say the bars see business licensing coming through and checking on what they're doing about a dozen or so times since this all started. They've been great, to be honest, as working partners, making sure this is happening in the right way. And they said that kind of policing the public and making sure that they're wearing the mask when they're getting up and going to the restroom or, just what I'm saying, has been the hardest part because not everybody really understands. And I can totally appreciate that. But just making sure that they understand the safest way possible to do it without, once somebody's having a cocktail, getting frustrated with the situation. That's honestly been the most difficult part. But I feel really lucky that we have a lot of regulars that have been really understanding and they're just happy to be in a friendly local environment. So I think we've been pretty fortunate here. I definitely heard some horror stories from other places. And we have strip properties, and the strip is different.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's obviously you're dealing with people that are coming from, all different places in the country as well as around the world, and everybody has their own guidelines, their own rules.
Right.
So sometimes it is something new to them. So we have to treat everybody as if it's the first time they're finding out about it. We have to educate them, explain to them, why, in a very polite way, and let them know that it is not a question of whether or not you want to. It's a mandate that we need to follow, and we can all still have fun and enjoy ourselves while staying within the guidelines.
It's Vegas, but there's rules this time in Las Vegas. There is a mask rule. It's hard for people to believe.
Yeah.
Today, what happens in Vegas needs to include a mask. So I think that's been the trickiest part on this trip. But for the most part, I have to be honest, people have been really kind and very, very understanding since the day we reopened. So I think Jaime and myself can honestly say that we feel really lucky for the regulars and the people who come in. And we just feel very lucky that people continue to come in and support local. So I think that's been the nicest part. That's what
That's amazing to hear. And that's actually where I was kind of going with my question with Jimmy is, with all the non-compliance that's happening, I can guarantee that most of it is not coming from the tavern end, we'll call it, and your systems in place and what the staff is actually doing. It's the public that has been the first time out for 3 or 4 months. They don't want to wear the mask. People have their different political agenda. So, that's where it might come a little bit awkward, and that's where a lot of the non-compliance can come. But the best you can do is set up the systems for them, and if your staff knows, police them the right way, then that should be enough for for all of us to get through this, huh?
I think so. I think people are honestly trying their best, and everybody's trying to figure out their way through all of the newness of everything. I think a lot of people are at a different place. Some people have been going out ever since they've been allowed to go out. And then you have some people that are just now starting to go out. And for them, it's, it's a totally different scenario. Some people are frustrated, mad for different reasons. And fortunately, I feel like our staff has been really great about, letting it kind of roll off their shoulders. And again, I can't stress enough just how lucky we feel just that people are still going out and being really polite. And you're always, this is the hospitality industry. You're always going to have people for one reason or another that are not in a great mood and are angry and, vent their frustrations for one reason or another. And right now it's very obvious what that frustration is about. But this is nothing new to people who have been in the industry for a number of years. There will always be people who walk in and vent their frustrations at you, and that's not a good position to be in. But I think people who've been in this industry for a while are accustomed to taking that, and so it's not a great part of the job, but it is unfortunately a side effect of being in the hospitality industry. And I think that the staff is used to it.
And I also think that, for the most part, maybe 99%, our guests are appreciative of the efforts that are being made.
Exactly.
At first there was, the first couple of times you come out, if it's, if you choose to come to one of our establishments, like Parkway Tavern, or if you go to the Strip, PBR Rock Bar, or Rock House, or American, and that's your first experience, we want to make sure that that's the best experience you have, so that not only it benefits us, but it benefits the local tavern, bar, restaurant community, so that people feel more comfortable knowing that restaurant owners are taking every precaution possible to make it a safe environment for them to enjoy. So I think we're part of a larger picture as far as the restaurant bar community in Las Vegas, and we all have to do our part to be ambassadors for the rest of the community.
Yeah, awesome. Kenna, let me get something straight. You mean not everyone coming in is always happy and as can be? You mean people coming a little upset sometimes? I'm not buying this. I don't believe this.
Yeah, we all know that's part of the gig, and so
that's part of the gig. Yeah, for sure.
That's it.
Kenna, so I know that you guys, one of your big things that you have at Parkway Tavern, I'm very interested on, I know that you have 50, 100 taps of beer, right? You have a lot of different beers over there. How has the supply chain been treating you? Did you lose a lot of product with all the opening and closing? Or what were you able to salvage? What's able to come through now?
It's funny you bring that up. It's hard for people, I think, to realize how this has affected all aspects of the business. There was a couple weeks where we couldn't even get a domestic beer because everything shuts down, right, for a couple months. So a lot of brewers stop brewing kegged beer because there were no restaurants. So if you can imagine, obviously you're still making packaged product because people were purchasing at grocery stores, but it is logical. I can understand if you think about it, it does make sense that they wouldn't brew kegged beer because beer goes bad, like many things do. But then once everybody started kicking back up into gear and opening, it takes them a second to also get their breweries. Everybody furloughed employees, including the beer industry. So then we open right back up, then they have to bring it back on their brewers to start kegging beers and then get it out here from wherever it is. So Jaime, probably took, what, 2 weeks to get Miller?
Yeah, and then we found that there's some suppliers that just aren't coming back online yet.
Right.
Whether it's a choice or just financially it doesn't make sense for them. So you have to deal with those, and we're very fortunate to have great relationships with our distributors as well as suppliers. So we were able to make it work. 250 beers at each location is
wow.
When you're trying to, obviously switch out product for reopening, find out what's good, what's bad, reorder, and satisfy your consumer, but at the same time, have understanding for the distributors and that they're going through the exact same thing.
So we
you guys are still running a full menu, right?
We did not reopen with the full menu. We opened with partial menu. We also really were trying to be cognizant of not having to try to use a lot of disposables so that people weren't concerned about how many times something was being handled. So we opened with as much sandwiches and things like that as possible. We've added the majority of the menu back at this point, but we still, if there's something we couldn't get in, we still don't have that. We have about 200 of the 250 beers at this point. We now have all domestics back, but we still have some craft beers that aren't available. And then there, some, as he said, are not back online. So we've switched to some alternatives, but we have to acid wash every line every time we make those changes, dump everything that's in the line. So there's been quite a bit of waste that's been involved, whether it was from food product when we first closed or just the beer in the lines and dumping it out and restarting.
Yeah, that's a shame.
Yeah. So with the 2 bar closures that we've done, because we just reclosed the bars, again, any bar that didn't have food, there's waste involved anytime, obviously, you have to do that.
But now you've had some practice.
We have lots of practice, yes. We perfected the system. We definitely have it down.
So if we can divert a little bit from the business, I know Kenna, we've all known each other for a while. Would you mind talking to the guests about a little bit about your history and how you've come to be and this big, the ringleader of this giant operation?
Exactly.
I mean, I feel I'm just a very lucky person. I landed in Vegas and ended up working at a very large venue that's now Tao. So I ended up running a large restaurant in where Tao is that had one of the first lounges in Las Vegas. And it was just at a great time period right around 2000. And I became really well known, and I ran into a gentleman who ultimately ended up creating several nightclubs, and I became his right hand. And I think that's where I ran into Steel, the man of steel here. And I ended up running Jimmy V, but I was his first general manager of Coyote Ugly, and we opened Bikinis together. And did you come on at Tangerine?
Me?
Mark? Yeah.
Yeah, I was around. No, right after I came on, my first venue with Pure Management Group was the Venus Pool Club.
Oh.
And then
really?
And then I was at Venus. And I basically went there to open that. I actually worked at Pure just for a little bit, and that was a mind-blowing experience working at a nightclub, being a fine dining restaurant guy my whole life. But it was fun. And then I went to the pool club, and then I went and I opened up Social House, and that's where my big my big restaurant was. And then from then I went along and I helped out open all the other restaurants for the company. So
I worked at Pure Management Group before it was Pure, obviously. I worked for them at Coyote, Tangerine, Bikinis, and all of those. I took a small break for other reasons and opened up a couple outside venues, and then came back to open Pure, which was a great experience. I don't think he ever opened a venue that I wasn't there for. I think my break was pretty short. And yeah, I came back, opened all those, and then I left to go to Brio Tuscan Grill, and I was their vice president for 10 years. And then I came back here with Jonathan. So my majority of my career has been in the nightlife industry and in large restaurant corporations. But I definitely feel very fortunate for always feeling like I've been in right place, right time, meeting with the right people, because this is such a large, small city. It's very important to work hard and never burn bridges and stay with the right people. So working with Steve and Pure Management Group as long as I did, and then having the corporate experience with Brio as long as I did, definitely has, teed me up to have a great experience with some really great mentors. And so now I feel fortunate that I'm able to grow brands like Parkway and work with people like Jaime. And we're hopefully able to make impacts during times like this where, a lot of people are really having a hard time, and we can give advice to other brands and also work with our own so that we can keep it a viable brand during such a challenging time. So I definitely feel like those experiences have led me to here.
Awesome.
Well, I remember back in the day when I was doing the Pure Management Group, and it was funny because when Kenna called me for the Fine Entertainment Group and all the Parkway Taverns, I remember she said to me, well, you know what? And she was explaining to everybody how she knew me and what I did. And when she was, and most of them were from the past anyway, but she was explaining it. And she says, yeah, we used to have a special code when he walked in.
Yeah, code white.
Code white. Yes, correct.
Code white.
It was like I shared this one, Kenna, when I was doing the Hakkasan group in the nightclubs. They would sit there and they tell the DJ, Jimmy V in the house, and people, that's how they got their word across. So everybody has their way of doing it. And that was great. And I know you always, everywhere you've gone, you've always been a lot of questions, always going above and beyond. And that, for me, from what I do, was great. And, I always say, just because I look at things through the eyes of an inspector, it's not exactly what I do. I actually listen and I learn, and I've learned so much from you guys, how to run restaurants, the ergonomics of things, the flow of the kitchens from the chefs. It's just amazing what I've learned on my end, because there's a whole nother aspect of it that a lot of people don't understand on the other side.
Yep, that's for sure. So, Jaime, we don't ignore you while we're having.
No, we're waiting for you, Jaime.
Can we hear a little bit about your history, where you're from, and how you got to your job that you're doing right now? Because CMO of a big company like that is no joke. So, congratulations. How'd you get here?
Oh, thank you very much. My story's not as cool as Kenna's, but no. Likewise, I'm very fortunate to be in the position I am now. I'm originally from Oregon, and I came down to go to school at UNLV. So while I was at UNLV, I did sports marketing during my undergrad, volunteered, and then started working in the athletic department on a full-time basis, and eventually left as the assistant director of marketing in 2007. I left in 2007 to open Town Square, Las Vegas, the outdoor shopping center on the Las Vegas Boulevard. And I was there for 10 years, moved my way up and left as the director of marketing 2017 to come join Kenna and Jonathan over at Fine Entertainment. So I have a background in sports and retail, and now food and beverage. So a lot of similarities on the marketing side, obviously, but a lot of new things that are exciting to learn. I'm still learning to this day as far as food and beverage and just the different beast that it is. But really, the principles at the end of the day, everywhere I've been, have been about the Las Vegas community and really building brands that resonate with Las Vegas. And I think that's kind of what has made us be able to kind of weather this storm, is really that connection to the community. And then obviously being creative. These are trying times for the marketing profession, because you're kind of working with one hand tied behind your back. A lot of stuff you would normally do, you can't do right now. And so therefore we've gotten creative. One of the things that has really worked well for the Parkway brand is our team app. It's the mobile application that we use for Parkway Tavern that allows you to track all of your purchases within the app, and then we reward you for reaching levels of basically drinking, eating, dining, or not right now, but when we do have them, attending events as well. So we track those items in the app, and you can see your progress, and then you get rewards. So it's really helped us build a loyalty program that benefits everybody that is involved in it.
Wow, that's pretty awesome. I don't know if I'd like an app to see how many beers I'm drinking.
You don't have to log them if you don't want to. You can be anonymous.
But the nice
So since you have the history in the with sports, how is the Knights and the Raiders and the Aces being here now? That's got to be a giant tie-in for everything. Your eyes have just got to be so happy with all these things going on and being here at this time. Tell us how you're combining everything together.
Yeah, it's I mean, if you would have asked me back in, I'm going to date myself, but 2005 when I graduated, that we would have multiple professional sports teams and others that were interested, I would have laughed, because at the time the only show in town was UNLV athletics, and that was the ticket for sports fans. Obviously, you had the 51s at that time. I remember when they were the Stars, so that's how far back it goes. But it's amazing to see not only the attention that is brought to the city, but also the crazy loyal fan base that it's created in the city. I spent years trying to get people to come to stadiums and stay and bring their families and everything, and now the Golden Knights and even UNLV and the Raiders, now they're enabling us opportunities to bring fans into our bars and restaurants, which is a huge benefit. Obviously, you can always watch them on TV, but there's something different when your Knights, you saw them play the night before, and now they're on the road in Winnipeg, come to Parkway Tavern, and the environment is, I'm not saying it's the same as T-Mobile Arena, but it's pretty rocking, and it's really cool to see people get behind the team. Kind of circles back to the community feel.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, especially now that people aren't going to be able to watch the games. It looks like the Raiders might not even have fans in their stadium, for the first few games at least. So that's an easy way to put 65,000 people in Parkway Taverns, huh?
We're ready. We're excited.
Yeah, we have a horn that's the same sound as the Knights horn, and we can set that up anytime people just go crazy, because they immediately relate that sound to being at a Knights game. The sense of community is pretty amazing.
So basically, you guys are creating your own bubble, just like they're doing for the hockey playoffs.
Yes.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. That's great, because people can be safe coming to you to watch the games, and it's going to be different because there's not going to be no fans. So now the hockey playoffs are going on, which you can see behind me. I'm a big night guy like you guys. So basically, that there's no more home advantage, because they're going there into, Canada. I believe they're going to, was Edmonton on the west, and the eastern teams are going to Toronto, and they're going to be in a bubble, and they're going to play. And this is what's going to be weird, because it's like, are they going to pipe in the screaming fans? It's going to be totally different. It's going to be totally different. So we just got to scream at Parkway Taverns what we got to do.
I was just going to say, I think no matter what, we'll have a better environment here. So come watch it here.
Oh, yeah. It's the best way. It's the best way. You got your locals coming out. Everybody comes out, and it's just a good party time over there, and that's the key. That's the key. So now let everybody know. I know they know Parkway Tavern. How many Parkway Taverns? What else do you guys do, so everybody knows?
Within the Fine Entertainment Group, we have 9 bars and restaurants. Obviously, Parkway Taverns, which we've touched on a couple times now. We have a location at Flamingo on 215, which is actually where we're broadcasting from right now, on the patio. And the Misters makes it really nice. And then we also have a location at Tivoli Village off of Rampart. And then we have 2 Henderson locations, one on Mark Street, the intersection of Marks and Warm Springs, and then also the newest location, which is inside the district at Green Valley Range. In addition to those 4 local concepts, we also have 2 other local concepts, Richie McNeely's, which is our Irish pub. We have over 200 different unique whiskeys from the motherland, as well as from Scotland and beyond. And then on the strip, we have PBR Rock Bar, You can't miss it. It's at the main entrance to Miracle Mile Shops right there on Las Vegas Boulevard. Rock House, which is inside the Grand Canal Shops at the Venetian. And then American, which is inside the Link Promenade, right next to Brooklyn Bowl. And then the Mint Tavern is located right next to Gold Steer on Sahara. It's our classic Sinatra era tavern. That one is currently closed right now because we don't serve food. But the other 8 locations in our portfolio are open and operating, and I'm happy to say doing quite well.
That's
Awesome.
great. That's fantastic. And each location is doing the right thing. Everyone can feel safe going there. You guys don't have to worry about that. I can vouch for that for sure. What do you guys like, Kenna and Jaime? What can you offer, like the industry, on like what you guys are going through? Like some advice, because there's some people out there that are smaller that are having issues. What advice can you give them?
I mean, do you mean as far as how to set up or how to?
No, just as far as handling everything that's going on, complying, don't get frustrated, that kind of deal.
Well, I mean, I think it's hard to tell somebody not to get frustrated when this is costing everybody a lot of money. And, quite frankly, I think people are nervous and they're scared, and we can understand that. I mean, this is not a situation that's definitely not without an expense on the business side and for the employees. So we understand that. So I can understand people getting frustrated, but I do really think that I definitely see a difference in people's behavior when they're coming into our venues. And I do really think people are starting to get it. Whether or not they agree with it, they're starting to get it and they want to help us out. They do understand that part of us being able to stay open means that they do need to follow the mandates. At first, I think people felt like they were going to be able to kind of do what they wanted and everything was going to be fine. And if a certain percentage of people kind of did their own thing, it wasn't going to be an issue. I think people realize now that that's not going to be the case. And I think people understand that they need to help us out in order for us to be able to stay open. So that part of it that is frustrating, I do think is going away. And the public is helping us all out because people want the smaller businesses. They want us to be able to stay open. I mean, the other stuff, I think the best thing for us to do is just to focus on the things that we can control and just try to, focus on your individual businesses and, stay as positive as you can. Because to be honest, what we found is the things that we can't control, we just simply can't. And the more that we focus on our own staff and staying busy and the guests that are walking in the door, the more successful that we've been. Getting upset about everything outside of our 4 walls that we can't control has made us only frustrated, like you're saying, and not very successful. But we've been doing much better when we're just focusing on every guest that walks in the door, giving them a great experience and getting them to come back. And like I said, the public has been really great, and we've been more fortunate in getting return business that way. So that's the best advice I can give. But I really do think that the public is on our side, and they want local places to do well. And they're really not fighting the system like I think at first people maybe seemed like they were. I think that that's becoming a smaller and smaller group of people because whether or not they believe in masks or whatever you're seeing on TV is irrelevant at this point. People just want these businesses to be successful. They don't want to see any of us go out of business. But I understand how people could be frustrated. Like I said, I understand the expense involved. At the end of the day, we all just want this to, we want a cure to be found. We want all this stuff to be over. But I think that more than anything, everybody needs to, make money. So I understand that.
Yeah, well said, Kenna. That's awesome. The best thing you can do is not focus on what you can't control, but focus on every guest that's coming in the front door. Make sure they're taken care of because, I've said it on the podcast before and we teach it at the school that the best way you can generate revenue is have that person come back again and be a constant guest. That's the best way to focus on those people right now. So, and then I actually have a kind of a follow-up question to all that is we've talked to a lot of operators and, everyone is positive for the most part in how we're getting through this. Is there anything in particular? Is there a silver lining in all this? A lot of people, they're spending more time with their family. They're able to kind of regroup their systems. They're able to reevaluate their their systems currently in their venues a little bit. Is there any silver lining that you found so far?
I think there is. I think there's multiple good things that, I mean, I hate to look at this and say, all this expense, all of this is for nothing. I think you have to look at it and find some good things out of this. Their obstacle is always benefit, first of all. I definitely have to say that everybody is probably going to come out of this a better operator, first and foremost. Anytime that you challenge your business and you come out of this on the other side, you're going to be a better operator. I'm sure there are some people that are not probably going to appreciate hearing this, especially if their business doesn't make it. I know I would not. I don't wish anybody's business to not make this, but I have to say that whenever you challenge yourself to find a better way to get to the other side and you make it, you're a better operator. I mean, that just is the reality. I also find that places are going to be a more sanitary business at the end of this. These additional mandates for cleanliness, a lot of them are already there. Jimmy, you can definitely speak to this. A lot of these mandates that are being put up in front of everybody, most of these were things that were already in place. And the fact that some folks are making their places cleaner is a sign that these are things that people probably were not doing on a regular basis in the first place. So I think that shining a light on these things are probably a good thing, because these are things that maybe people were not doing on a regular basis. So I don't think that it's ever a bad thing to highlight cleanliness, to be perfectly honest. How long you're supposed to wash your hands and things like that. The fact that people should not work in hospitality when they're sick, I think that it's for a very long time been a misconception that people have to go to work no matter what, unless you're broken arm, you got hit by a car, all these old things from 30 years ago. And that really should never be the case. And I think that that's something that for a while has gone away, but it's a common misconception in the hospitality industry that everybody has to be at work no matter what. So I think that that's another thing that's going away because of this being put and highlighted, is that people are learning that when you are not well, you should not be working in the public. So I think there's some really good things that are coming out of this, is the fact that people are learning that when you're not well, you absolutely should not be working. You absolutely have to wash your hands no matter what. It sounds silly that we're teaching everybody this, but it's not for the first time. These are all things that have always been there. I think that this big spotlight on it is teaching people things that we've been trying to teach everybody for a long time. And now they're realizing all the absolute dangers. It's not just COVID, it's the flu, any sickness that's out there. So I do think that there's a lot of silver linings here. It's a shame that it's taken something like this for everybody to realize, the very bad side of not paying attention to all these things. But I mean, there's been things in the past, like if you look back at Firefly, what happened there back in the day. I mean, that's a very good example of something that could have been avoided by a lot of these exact same measures. And they're an amazing restaurant concept that was incredibly successful, that has great food. There's been other places in the past that have fallen victim to these exact same scenarios that were not because they were a bad operation, but just because of something like this.
Yeah, I think it's important to know, and this is something that Jimmy and I have talked about, and we talk about in one of our courses, is that the health department isn't coming out and adding a list of another 100 things that you have to now comply to. They're just looking over the same things, except maybe it might be a couple extra set of eyes, a little more stringent than before, but they're looking over the same things as we should have been doing for the past, X amount of years. So that was well said. So, Jaime, do you have anything to add about a silver lining, to what Kenna said?
The only thing I'd like to add to that is I think the guest experience, the ability for us to really meet, maybe it's first time guests that have never venturing out now because we're open and they're like, hey, I've always wanted this location, and I think it's given us the opportunity to meet new people in the community and have new guests come in, but then also really get to know our existing guests in a better way. I mean, obviously at a lower capacity that we're operating at, it really allows us to highlight the customer service part of it and provide them the best possible experience. And quite frankly, sometimes when you're you're crazy busy on a Friday, Saturday night, you don't get to have that one-on-one interaction with your guests like we do now. So I would say that's a silver lining to really develop those relationships and build what we hope is going to be, long-time patronage at our locations.
Awesome.
That's great. That's fantastic. And I know you guys have been real good to your employees too. And and that's the case. A lot of things are unfortunate with that, but you know what? A lot of people have been real good to their employees because they understand what's going on. There's business aspects to things, but you guys have been one of the companies that have been real good to your employees. You guys have been real loyal to them. They've been loyal to you. That's what makes a success.
Definitely.
Yeah, I mean, we definitely feel lucky that all of our employees came back. I mean, there definitely is an opportunity for people to, the unemployment has been a very good situation for people. And when everybody answered their phone in the very beginning and came back to work right away because they wanted to work and come back to the guests, you never know what to expect if everybody's going to come into a bar, tavern with food, and how busy we're going to be. And 100% of our employees came back, and that made us all feel great. So yeah, we're very grateful at how the situation has worked out for us as a company.
One other thing I'd like to add is I think, speaking to the silver lining, I think having a diverse business model is also to our benefit. There are a lot of bars and taverns out there that are very reliant on the gaming side of things, and obviously when that is taken away, it's very difficult to continue operation. We're fortunate to have a very heavy emphasis on the food and beverage side as well as gaming. That's allowed us to be able to adapt and to kind of move during these changing mandates and the guidelines that are constantly kind of in flux. So I think that's one benefit, and also probably something that maybe other operators should look at in the future is not neglecting that food and beverage side, the retail side of business, and focusing solely on the gaming. Not to say I hope, knock on wood, we don't have to go through this, on a reoccurring basis, but it's definitely a benefit to be able to have balance within the business.
Well, that's great points, great perspective from your guys. I mean, that's great. And I'm going through some of the comments here, and there's a lot of good comments here, and you're getting hellos from the UK, that's for sure. And somebody mentioned here that there's a tavern hearing on, I think it says August 8th or 6th. So hopefully that's what I think it is, and maybe we can get past all this, and we get, hopefully the 24th comes first and we're all good. And a lot of people are saying they're looking forward. I still figure this one out. I'll get this figured out for you, Mark, but I'm seeing people are saying that they already visit Parkway Tavern. They love how the Parkway Tavern is close to the exits on the highway. So, I mean, it's real good. I mean, you're getting all positive. And I know for a fact, from my point of view, that you guys have always been utmost respectful to the industry. You're willing to go above and beyond with all the health codes and, OSHA codes, you name it. You guys have always been top notch. I'm very happy. I'm glad you guys spent some time on this podcast with us. It's great. We're going to move over to Mark, because we always have one thing for you guys, and Mark always does this last question for you guys. And I think it's going to be a real, I'm curious to see what you guys are going to answer to this one. Go ahead, Mark. All you.
All right, so this is not a question related to any kind of pandemic or operations or anything like that. So now, I mean, it's Jaime, it's good to learning a little bit more about your history, because you have a good answer for this, hopefully. But I want to ask both of you guys, tell us some kind of story that people watching in the UK or around the country or even here in Las Vegas, tell us a story that you wouldn't believe, whether it be personal or a gambling or a work story, unless you actually worked here in Las Vegas. Give me a good Las Vegas story. Kenna, maybe you had Coyote Ugly dancing on the bar, I'm sure, at one time or another, or some kind of just some kind of story that you wouldn't believe it unless you actually lived here in Las Vegas. And you can either one. You can go first.
Yeah, what's the rating on this show?
I'm sorry?
It doesn't matter. It's adults, man. No kids. All good.
We're here for entertainment.
I'll keep it rather tame. I will say back when I was working for UNLV, and this is well known because anybody that was at this game will know about it. We're very fortunate to obviously have won in the 1990 NCAA basketball championship, and obviously that team still is very near and dear to many Las Vegas hearts. And the head coach, Jerry Tarkanian, great coach, great person. We were dedicating the floor of the Thomas and Mack Center to Coach Jerry Tarkanian. We had a large ceremony planned and all this, the hoopla, and we had, the shark lights and everything and the speech and all this stuff. And in order to hide what was going to be the revealing on the floor, we had to turn the lights off in the arena except for the emergency lights. And we knew at this time, and they've come light years since this, but the lights were actually controlled by an offsite building. So I used to run the basketball games from the intermission to the end of the game from center court, right next to the announcer. So I literally had the radio to the electrician to literally physically shut the lights down. And so the lights go off, and we've never done that before because there's a 15-minute time frame before you can turn those lights back on. Otherwise, they will not come on. So we had a 20-minute speech that somehow ended up being 10 minutes when read by individuals involved. And so we had to turn the lights on 5 minutes before, and of course they did not come on. And this game was nationally televised on ESPN, and we're live on air, and the entire arena is dark for the unveiling. And it delayed the game 15 minutes, and I'm literally sitting at center court with 18,585 people staring at me, trying to figure out how to get these lights to come back on, to a guy that's 2 buildings away on UNLV's campus flipping a switch, telling me that, no, we popped a breaker. So that was the scariest and craziest moment. So if anybody out there was watching that game, can't remember the exact year, but that's the reason behind the 15-minute delay on ESPN where Scott Benfeld had to fill in on SportsCenter.
Wow, that's a great story. Was that your last game too, Jamie?
That was not my last game.
All right, great story. Kenna.
Your turn.
I don't know. I don't know if I can beat that. I mean, there definitely is a lot of crazy moments in Las Vegas. I mean, we obviously working in nightlife, we had, situations with, celebrities coming in, which I'm sure, Mark has had those with, trying to find the perfect temperature, which in casinos, the temperature is controlled in the basement. So anytime we had Prince come in, he would insist on a certain temperature for his throat, which, is like 100% impossible. You're screaming at an engineer in a basement to please get the room that he's in at 84 degrees because that's the temperature he wants to breathe in a certain temperature. It's impossible, but everybody wants to see the stress on your face and screaming into the stupid radio. It's an absolute impossibility, but that stuff happens all the time. But at Coyote, when we needed to get sales to a certain point, we used to sell shots in these little boot shot glasses for $5. And we had some girls that were really good at being like sassy on the microphone. And when we would run out of the boot shot classes, we would just have them sell shots directly from their actual shoe, their actual boots. And guys would line up and pay 10. We charged them double to drink shots from their actual sweaty boots. And that worked. That used to work for a good hour. People would drink Jack Daniels straight from their sweaty boots. I don't think that works out very well in most cities, but for some reason in Vegas, men will line up and pay $10 to drink from a hot girl's sweaty shoe. So that I enjoyed more than having to scream for celebrities' temperatures for their throats. Or changing out zippers for Britney Spears on New Year's because she bought a dress too small or something like that. But yeah, if I worked at a fancy nightclub like here, I was usually running around for a celebrity. If I was at a regular place like Coyote, we were harassing, the regular public to pay $10, $20 to drink out of sweaty shoes. So it's much more fun to work at Coyote.
Hopefully Jimmy never came in while the boot drink was on, right?
Jimmy. It's alcohol. It kills everything.
Oh yeah. That's it. That's the truth. It's alcohol, right? The only thing I remember back in the day of Coyote is when the big thing was dancing on the bar. And then the health department walked in when everyone was dancing on the bar. And I had to say, hey, well, that's just part of the, nobody's drinking on the bar. I remember those days.
Yeah, we had little areas for the dancers. So when we had a health inspector come in, they could move to the dance tops. We did have to stop. They did have one girl that used to blow fire with Bacardi 151. And, as you know, it falls because it's actual alcohol. Yep. It's not like paraffin. And it fell on a guy who had a beard and it caught his face on fire.
Oh, man.
He was not upset. I'll be honest with you. I could see where that could go horribly wrong. And you would think your face catching on fire would be a terrible story, but he got put out so fast. It just shortened his beard all the way up. And he was not upset about it. He got free drinks for the rest of the night. The girls signed t-shirts for him and underwears and stuff. And he came in the next night, got treated like a king, and he was totally fine with it. I thought it was going to go much worse than it did, but he was okay. So, yeah, I think in another life it would have been a several $100,000 lawsuit. But he was okay, but no more spitting fire after that. That was
there you go. There you go.
Bacardi 151 flames. But, yeah, that could have gone. That was like a nightmare I had once in 2001.
The good old days.
The good old days when you used to be able to do stuff like that.
You're getting away from Michael Politz, Kenna. Michael Politz is saying hello.
Oh, hi, Politz.
So, thank you so much, guys. I really appreciate it. I know on behalf of Mark, we're very happy to have you on. I'm sure you guys gave wonderful information from the beginning to the end. Help out the industry. Remember, we're working together in this industry, and we're all staying together. So with that said, I'm going to say goodbye to you guys. I appreciate it. Thank you so much for being on.
Thank you.
Come on again anytime you want. We will have you again. We'll repeat. I mean, this is only our 7th one, and we love it. We love doing what we're doing. We want to get back to the industry. So on behalf of Mark, say your goodbyes. I appreciate you guys, and I'll be seeing you guys soon, as always.
Sounds good.
All right. Thank you very much.
We just don't know when you're coming.
Oh, got to be quiet, right? You take care, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Hey, Mark. Pretty good.
Pretty intense. A lot of good
information,
Yeah, a lot of great information for other operators who are looking to do the same thing. They have a big business, but they're handling it with a kind of a grassroots mentality to make sure taking care of all the guests coming in at a time and just following the health rules. And it all goes back to basics eventually, huh, Jimmy?
Yeah, it does.
Just do the basics, and you should be okay with the big picture, huh?
Right. And what I like about what Kenna said is, especially, she says, these are things that we should have did before. You know what I mean? And everybody's realizing that. You're always going to have your bad apples, but as long as we work together, again, we always say this, me and you, we'll beat it. We'll come through this on the other end happy. Again, Mark and I, we do the classes for you guys. We really want to get into that delivery service stuff too coming up. But hey, look, everybody, thank you very much. Mark, you have anything going on special this week, next weekend?
Yeah, well, actually, not necessarily this week. We're finally in the final stages of getting our alcohol awareness certification up and going. Hopefully, maybe by next week, we'll have some dates of when we're actually going to start, which is big news for us here at our small little RHI. And we'll do some outreach to industry staff to make sure that everyone's cards are updated. But we actually just announcing our next hospitality server class, which is our certified class where you can come as a 5-week course. You learn all state-of-the-art information, COVID health stuff. Jimmy comes in and he helps train. We also train on food, service, wine, hospitality, upselling. And we're actually going to be starting that in our socially distanced classroom. And we just announced our next class yesterday, which is going to be on August 24th. So I'll talk about it a few more times and you'll see it pop up on social media. But we're finally we got all of our ducks in line and we're ready to offer our next certification classes. And everyone who's looking for work or looking for employees, come to me and we'll make sure we make that love connection for you.
Absolutely. Great. It's a great school, guys. I've seen I've seen it. It's great. I'm part of it. It's great. I can't tell you guys anything different. One big update for JVC, my company, is I'm going to start offering training, okay, virtually. If anybody in different states want to do virtual, reach out to me because I'm naturally certified, accredited, and I could definitely do everything for you online. I've done it already. I've done it on the other side of the world for a company. It's a little different, but people do the questions and answers, and it's very well taken. It's done. There's different platforms that are available. Just get in touch with me. The information's on the bottom. Also, what we're going to be doing, and I'm going to announce it right now, and I know we got to backtrack on it, but Jimmy V Live is going to be having, for our guests, we're going to offer our guests things that you guys are going to love. All our guests from past until we get to the point, we're going to have a special Jimmy V Live hat. And Jimmy V Live will have a website under construction. We're going to do that as well. We want to make this grow for our industry. And if you guys have any suggestions whatsoever, let me see if I can get this thing to spin down. Right there is the Jimmy V Live email, jimmyv@jimmyvlive.net. Give me some suggestions. Maybe you guys want to be future guests, whatever. Mark and I will take the questions and we'll go from there. I'll have to hook up Mark with a little email address as well. But right now, guys, thank you very much. Next week's guest, I'm not going to tell you, but it's going to be a surprise. And you guys are going to love this person. I won't tell you if it's male or female, but you'll love this person as well. And this will be really, really good. So make sure you guys definitely, for sure, tune in. I think you guys will really enjoy it. And, hey, you know what? You got a little special comment here before we go off. Mike Doniker said, Mark, you're the real deal, buddy. So there you go. I like the smile, man.
I owe you some scotch now. I owe you some scotch.
There you go. All right. You have a great week, Mark. We'll be in touch. All right, pal?
Thanks, Jimmy.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Bye.